What's up, everybody? You're here with the Fly Guy. All right, today I just wanted to do a quick video covering one of the topics that I think is really important in fly tying. And it's not function over fashion, but it's blending function with fashion so that your patterns not only look good, but they're durable and hold up in the field when you're out there fishing. Before we get into it, some of the fly patterns that I'm going to be mentioning today, I will go ahead and flash up on the screen as I'm talking. And you can find resources for these flies on my website at tfgflies.com. Make sure to head over there and check out my fly tying recipes and some of my tying guides. I am adding to that progressively and building a resource for fly tyers and fly anglers. So head over there and check out what I've got so far, and I've got more coming on the way. I have a lot of great videos coming, more content on fly tying, fly fishing, gear, tips and techniques, and my life here in the Philippines. Make sure to subscribe and hit that bell so you know when new videos come out. So the first tip that I want to share with you is just a very basic tip that beginner and intermediate tyers kind of learn as they go. And it's making backwards wraps over top of materials like soft tackles, foam, chenille, etc. You know, as you make these backwards wraps, you don't have to go too far back, but just a few extra wraps moving backwards over that material will help keep it in place, increase durability, and it's going to give you space. So you can either add more materials if you need to, or you can finish that fly off cleanly and create a nice clean thread transition and a solid thread head. For me, one of the things that I do with my woolly buggers, I tie a lot of different bugger variations when I fish for bass and carp. And with my flies, I like to add a soft hackle up front before I finish the fly off. I don't just wrap the body hackle, that saddle hackle, right up to the head and then call it a day. I add that soft hackle as an addition for extra action. So the body hackle is actually more stiff, so it doesn't collapse like a soft hackle, and it acts as a post behind the soft hackle so that the soft hackle doesn't completely collapse, but yet pulses and undulates almost like octopus tentacles up against that more rigid saddle hackle. So you get nice action and nice support. And when you make rear wraps over top of both of those hackles, you get a nice taper and you have added durability so those hackles don't spin out or get broken down when you start catching fish on that fly. One of the nice things about making those rear facing wraps is that you not only increase the durability, but you give yourself enough space for adding more materials and cleanly finishing the fly. And that's kind of like my next tip. And, you know, kind of a simple one, sounds self-explanatory, but this is something that you have to kind of figure out as you keep tying and getting used to making certain fly patterns. And it's leaving enough space for each step. And that only comes with time. You're not going to do it perfect every time. You could even tie a fly 1,000 times and still, you know, make a spacing error depending on, you know, your techniques that day. Nobody's perfect, but leaving yourself the adequate amount of space enables you to add more material, and it gives space for you to be able to have water pass through those materials when you're fishing that fly. So when that fly is wet, if there's adequate space and you've given yourself a little bit of a gap in the fly itself, it won't be visible to you, it won't be visible to the fish, but it will allow materials to move and undulate better. You'll get better action out of them because you'll be securing those materials down in a more uniform fashion, and you can provide gaps in your material placement on that fly. So you achieve that when you're able to present a fly in front of fish. And I'm mainly talking about, you know, larger patterns like streamers or buggers that have kind of varied materials and give you the opportunity and space to provide and make those gaps. Those gaps can help you create better action, and fish will respond to that. Especially when flies are at rest and flies are enabled to breathe on a pause. So something simple as leaving yourself enough space and giving yourself a little bit of a gap maybe in body composition can really take your flies to another level. One of the things that I do with one of my streamer patterns is utilizing a hollow body technique. It's very simple. This is the ice minnow. I'll put a picture up of that on the screen right now. And all I do is, instead of wrapping a body material or even adding a dubbed body, all I do is wrap the thread. I make a thread body and I paint it with nail polish and then coat that nail polish with UV resin. The body is very thin and slick, but it has a little bit of flash. It allows the body materials, because I use a lot of synthetics like craft fur and ice fur, it allows those synthetics to collapse during the retrieve, but then greatly breathe and expand during the pause. So even though it slims down during the retrieve and has a very thin profile, if I pause and let that fly breathe, it expands and it gets a real full body look. And I like using this method on a lot of my streamers. I get a lot of good reactions from predatory fish like pike and smallmouth when utilizing this technique. And if you're using traditional nail polish, might take a little bit longer for you to finish the fly. You might have to wait for it to dry and then cure with your UV resin. But if you combine UV nail polish and UV resin, you can use that same UV torch and cure that up quick, and then move on to finish the head of that fly, adding your craft fur. I'll be doing a tying demo on some of these fly patterns, so stay tuned. Make sure if you have not subscribed to do that and hit that bell so you know when new videos come out. So I kind of already hinted on it in the last tip regarding, spacing and kind of giving yourself a gap in your fly, doing more of a hollow body technique on some of your streamer patterns. And that's using a combination of nail polish and UV resin to create some solid, durable bodies that have some flash, but also clean thread heads. So it doesn't matter if you're using traditional nail polish or UV nail polish. The only difference is the time investment of waiting for traditional nail polish to dry. But you can achieve some really clean, coated thread heads that are durable by using nail polish. And what I do is I lay that nail polish down. I might do 1 or 2 coats depending on how thin that polish is right out of the gate. And then I coat that dried nail polish or UV cured nail polish with a top coat of clear UV resin. You can use thin or thick depending on the look that you want to achieve. And it really makes a permanent color pop that is durable, and it makes the fly really stand out to the fish. And I like to have a clean thread head that's coated and durable with a little bit of color pop to it. After you've made a nice fly pattern, it's always nice to add a little bit of decor to it. And a little bit of color pop and a little bit of flash goes a long way on a fly. So having that subtle, small, durable color pop on that fly head is really going to kind of step up your fly patterns and make them look even more irresistible to fish. Another thing that I do to blend function and fashion together with my head styles, aside from nail polish and UV resin, is actually using fabric paint. Fabric paint used to be a really popular material used in saltwater fly tying. I don't see a lot of guys using it anymore. If you're a saltwater fly tyer, or you might be a freshwater fly tyer and you are using fabric paint still, comment below in the comment section and let me know how you're using it and some of the fly patterns that you're tying. I love fabric paint. I think the trade-off of having to wait for that fly to dry and cure is well worth the benefit. The way that I use fabric paint in my fly tying is a little different. I tie a pattern called the Creek Bugger Bass version, and this is basically a jig style woolly bugger. And I use the fabric paint to recreate what traditional tackle fishermen use in the form of a painted jig head. I am literally just taking that concept and recreating that on a woolly bugger with brass dumbbell eyes. And instead of wrapping chenille or dubbing the head of that fly, I increase that fly's durability by locking it in with fabric paint. Fabric paint is actually a very strong glue, and the benefit you get from it is a very strong color pop. And you can kind of marble fabric paints together on your dumbbell eyes and combine colors, because fabric paint doesn't mix like a watercolor. You're not going to get like a muddy color. You can actually streak colors together or dot them, create patterns, and it actually looks really cool. And it's simple to do if you just use a bodkin and take your time and work around those brass dumbbell eyes. It's a really cool technique, and it takes a little bit of time, but it adds an awesome color combination to your flies. But I use it on a lot of different jig fly patterns, because not only does it permanently lock those eyes in, aside from super glue. But when you bounce that fly off of structure, rocks, logs, you're dragging it on the bottom, it's not hard like UV resin, so it doesn't crack. Fabric paint has kind of a hardened, rubberized feel to it. And because it's able to withstand, water from the washing machine if it's put on clothing, it has a unique durability that you can apply in fly tying and fly fishing. So I encourage you, if you haven't tried fabric paint yet, it's pretty cheap. You can go out to most craft stores and find it. I've got some colors that I use linked in the description below, so check those out and make sure that you give it a try and let me know in the comments section if you've tried it and some of the things that you're finding it is useful for in your fly tying. All right, and the last thing that I wanted to share today was just something simple regarding how you approach your time at the vise versus your time at the water. And one of the things I think is really important is not adding materials to a fly pattern just for the sake of adding that material to make it look better. Because a lot of times the simple flies are the ones that fish the best. Sometimes adding materials to a fly pattern actually decreases its fishability. Because if you're spending all your time at the vise replacing flies that are breaking down after one or two fish when you're out there in the field, you're not maximizing your time at the water. And, I'm all for creating nice looking flies. I want my flies to look as good as possible, but I also want them to be reasonably replicable so that I can replicate them in a reasonable amount of time, come up with a system, and be able to maximize the time that I have to get out there on the water and catch fish. And if a fly pattern can last me, 10, 20 fish before it starts really showing signs of wear and tear, that's important to me. My time is valuable. It's the most important asset that I have on this planet. If you're a young angler watching this, if you're a young fly tyer just getting into the sport, one of the things that you'll notice is that as you get older, your time to get out on the water and to keep fishing will decrease as you have increased responsibilities and life happens. We all go through this cycle. And when I have time to get out on the water, I don't want to worry about, these flies are only going to last me maybe a couple fish. You want to maximize that time at the vise to make sure that you're well prepared for your time on the water, because that's what counts. We're all out there. We want to tie flies. We want to make things look good, but we also want to make sure that we're catching fish. So for me, it's all about balance. So let's not add materials to our flies just to add materials for material's sake. We want to make sure that we are achieving a good balance of time at the vise and fish catching power out on the water. I think there are people creating wonderful works of art at the vise. There are so many good fly patterns being made every day on Instagram. I see tons of great content out there, but sometimes the bench art isn't what gets the fish attention. And we have to decide what we're making. If your goal is to catch fish and be productive out on the water and put up stats, sometimes you're going to have to say, okay, that simple fly that people might look at and be like, wow, what's so special about that? Well, it's special to me because it catches fish time and time again. And that's kind of the place that you have to come to as a tyer and an angler. What balance do you want to achieve? Do you want to achieve that photo-worthy fly for a magazine or Instagram? Or are you wanting to tie something that's bulletproof, that catches fish, and also holds up in the field when you get out there and finally get to fish it? So I hope some of these tips helped you. I hope you kind of got maybe some ideas from some of the things that I shared to maybe improve your fly tying durability and blending function and fashion together so you can make flies that not only hold up but look good in the vise too. Because when we have confidence in a fly pattern, we fish it more effectively. It's a psychological trick, and it definitely plays out in the field. When I have a fly pattern on that I know works, I fish more effectively because I know what it can do. Stay tuned. I've got a lot more videos coming, and I've got fly tying and fly fishing footage on the way, and more videos about my life here in the Philippines. If you like this video, go ahead and hit thumbs up, and if you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe to my channel for more fly fishing, fly tying, and Philippines videos. Thanks again for watching, everybody. Take care, and we'll catch you next time.